Luca Nation. It's a very special fractional report before opening bell, sponsored by Collectable, episode 630 of Lucas, Tigers, and Bronze, the best sports card podcast in the world. What makes this one interesting, Cage, is you just went to Mint Collective, sponsored by Collectable, which was, if I could say, it felt like kind of like a thought leadership. I know we don't love that word, but like a thought leadership conference. People came together. There was obviously some trading, some buying of cards, but it was really mostly an exchange of ideas, it felt like. That's kind of how I wanted to open up today's episode. We'll get into the data, get you guys locked and loaded for the week ahead.
We'll get into the data. Why don't you tell everybody what the name of the show is?
The fractional report before opening bell. It's sponsored by Collectable.
Yes. I love it. So here we are, guys.
Is that inaccurate?
We're back. No, it's just, sometimes, like the Roadrunner, man. You know what I mean? And sometimes I got to be Wile E. Coyote and, there's a painted road and I got to run into the stones. I got to get an anvil dropped on my head every now and again. You hit the ground running and you just go, So, you want to talk about Mint Collective, and we could definitely talk about that. Obviously, I think we definitely have to take an opportunity to spend 2 minutes on that, but we have to remind everybody what they're here for. They're here for, the Fractional Report, brought to you by Collectable before the opening bell. Lots of fun stuff to talk about. So big shout-outs, right? Big shout-outs to a lot of people. Was it like a thought summit? Yes. Was it like the industry summit on steroids? Yes. Was it clean? Was it the first card show I've been to, the first massive card show I've been to where it was not permeating with body odor? Yes, it was clean. It was a clean show. It looked clean. It was a carpeted floor instead of what was going on at the National. The breakout sessions were amazing. The names that were there are amazing. I'm sure it'll be something that they're able to build on next year, and the guests that they try to bring in, the celebrities they try to bring in will now know that Jerry Rice, Paul Pierce, Emmett Smith, Peyton Manning, Lawrence Epstein, the chief operating officer of the UFC, the names, not just the card names, which there's amazing card names there too, but just, real names from the world. I mean, who knows? Maybe Drake.
Well, that's the only way to bring. That's the only way
bring more
to grow
people,
the hobby.
Right? Exactly.
Yeah.
So, but I mean, you're able to. It's a first run, and for a first time doing this, it was pretty impressive how many things they got right. So big shout out, to the Collectable team, everybody from Jason Epstein down to Ezra, Dave Marino, the whole crew, Alex Jaimo, just everybody who had anything to do with this, Louise, down to Jordan Ferrone, who did not put his damn camera down. Awesome. I mean, just, working his butt off the entire time. And a big shout out to Jordan. He bought one of the spots in our Whatnot break, the VFens break. He got one of two, not one of one, a one of two Caterpillar from the Gary V, Josh Luber, Zero Cool break. He brought it over to DCI, the guys from Dallas Card, for a raw card review. $10, can't beat that. One of the best bargains in the hobby. Real value add for $10, and they told him it's a 10. I told him this is a clear cut 10, PSA 10, no problem. Maybe even a Beckett 10. So he's, I hope, happy with that. Even though my greasy fingers were all over your cards, folks, it seems like they're still tenning, So anyway,
so someone who opens cards every single Friday with his son. I think you got it. Yeah. There's a lot of things you do wrong, but actually
this Friday, I think about it. This Friday I did a FaceTime. We opened when I was in Vegas. I opened with him FaceTime. I left him a box that he found on Friday, a little select basketball from last year. But yeah, I mean, listen, so also just, expanding it out to the IMG crew, the folks from IMG, I don't know whether or not they've ever done anything with a hobby before, whether they've ever, spent any time, with card folks, but the collaboration between those guys and the team from Collectable was well done. Things like this, it's difficult to put something like this on. You're going to have things that just pop up and you deal with them, on the fly, and they handle that well. I think the two teams did a very good job of tapping some talented people. I've given Christina's PC, a lot of credit, obviously well deserved. All the folks that moderated, did panels. It was really a cool show. And you have to think anybody who's trying to do something now, this is now the standard. You know what I mean? They'll have to look at this and say it's got to be at least that good. Otherwise, the vendors are going to say it wasn't a good show. And I spoke to a lot of the vendors, and they all had positive things to say. All of them, which that's tough to do in our world. Everybody wants to complain about something. So I'll shut up now. Look, everybody likes my bricks, but I colored it up there with a little Mint Collective. They were giving out those prints. It's a Mint Collective Las Vegas print. I think it's Andy Freeman, the artist. So I put it up there on my brick wall. Everybody likes my brick. I was getting shit from it. From some of the collectible
most
guys.
shows, Cage, are like 95-5 male to female ratio, but it felt like this thought conference kind of was maybe more 60-40, 70-30. It felt a little bit more balanced.
It's something I definitely was paying attention to. A lot of couples. A lot of card people there with their wives, and their wives are card people too. A lot of hobby people, a lot of breakers. In the hobby now, and so all walks of it. But yes, it definitely felt more inclusive. I'll use that as the word, and a nice mix of, if you wanted to go and listen to people talk, you can go listen to people talk. If you wanted to listen to eBay, you want to listen to Panini, you can. A lot of cool booths from like a trade show perspective. I think like we talked about, what Panini did was great. eBay did some great stuff. Collectable had some really great stuff. And I didn't mention it yesterday, but you could walk by the Collectible booth, and where at some point people were speaking on stage. At other points, they had kids doing free breaks. They give them product, and it's just like a table full of kids just breaking cards and having fun. So that's cool because at the crux of all this, and this ties into the fractional stuff, guys. That I know you're here for the info and the data, and we'll get to that in 2 seconds. But finding value in fractional and finding value in these cards, and finding something that's undervalued, and hoping to maximize your, the value of your cards. Part of that is going to be based on growing the hobby. Part of that is going to be based on bringing more people to this, bringing more demand. And at base, that's what this is. And to see people, fostering to women, to children, to people outside the hobby, to see this type of an event basically geared towards growing the hobby. I mean, that is ultimately going to trickle down to all walks of it and add value, right? It's going to make more people come in and want these cards, right? That's the goal. So I have really nothing bad to say, except, I just walked in. It's 10:50 p.m. here. I said hi to my children and my wife and said it's episode time. So
let's give you guys concise, to the point kind of data review of the previous week. Let you guys get back to your regularly scheduled programming. Maybe you're listening to this right after you're watching Ken Golden, Card Porn, and Drake break boxes, which might be the collab of 2022. I don't know how you top that. That's just any thoughts on that? I mean, that's a trio right there. That's the three best friends.
I don't know what to say. There's so many things. Like I didn't know Drake was this big of a deal. I guess for the hobby, it's a huge deal. I guess remember, I'm an old man, so
Dude, Drake sells records.
I could hardly name any of his songs. Ken Golden's the man. Not everybody loves Ken, but you have to give credit where it's due. He brings a lot of eyeballs to what we do here. And Card Porn, it's going to be interesting to see. Are they going to be like, the Cleveland Browns fans that wear like the paper bag over their head? How's he going to do a break? Is he going to be there with like a mask on? Is it going to be like Michael Myers mask? Are they going to be blurred out? My wife actually said she would consider potentially coming on an episode with us, as long as she could use one of the iPhone filtered tigers over her. She would have to come on as a tiger the entire time. So
I'll tell you what I'm noticing.
Use a filter.
Ken is now more of a celebrity than a business owner operator. And I think that we've talked about that ever since kind of PSA bought him out.
Yep.
Bought him out, merged, whatever the right terminology is. But he's kind of going into that more celebrity status, where eyeballs, charisma is a big personality. So anyway, here are the top three gainers of the previous week. And I mean, one sticks out like a sore thumb. It's the Corey Seager Orange Refractor Basket 2X. There's two cards in there. It was up 185%. We could talk about that. Johnny Unitas, game-worn Baltimore Colts jersey from 1965, up 40%. And Acuna, his gold refractor BGS 95, up 35% to 33,800 market share, just shy of the $35,000 offer that you guys may have seen.
So that makes sense. Yeah, I mean, go ahead.
I don't understand the Seager.
Why? The Seager was, I mean, you saw the Acuna buyout. You saw Mookie Betts cards starting to go up. You see baseball season coming. And the Seager had just been beaten down so badly that it got to a price where, enough people came in and said, all right, let's go. This has just gotten, it's gotten
Seager over Bryce. Like, what makes Seager so likable and Bryce
a new team, new contract, and Bryce. There's no Bryce here. I mean, this is an orange refractor rookie basket, 2 of them. It got down cheap enough, and obviously it hit a number, and either 1, 2, 7, 10 people jumped in and said, all right, baseball season's going to start. If he starts off hot, this thing can go right back to where it was. We've seen that. We saw it with Mookie Betts. We saw it with a lot of the baseball cards. There's that over reaction, and then the immediate kind of correction the other way. What I like to see on these things, less about the Seager, more about the Acuna, and then one card that just missed the top 3. You like to see the market behaving rationally, right? Mm-hmm. And when you have the Acuna with the buyout offer of $35,000 rejected, you see the Acuna go up 35% to a value just around, like slightly lower, but just near that $35,000 offer. That makes sense to me. That is the market behaving rationally. And we look for those things to try to give you kind of, the info that'll give you an edge here, right? Or, as you move into the week, what to do. And last week, that was the play ball Ted Williams, right? We talked about that one. That was the one I singled out. That was up 28.5% this week. And again, behaving rationally. That was in the 30s. There was a PWCC auction that ended at $48,000. That card with its 28 and change percent increase this week is now at 46,368. So pinning very close to the last comp, to the last sale. And obviously, if you listen to us, we talked about that card as one that was going to probably move up because of that sale, and it did. I have another one for you this week that I think is going to do the same thing. But how about yourself? What do you see? And can I steer you towards one thing, because this is your favorite player in the world? LeBron James, as we record this, has just lost to the Pelicans. He scored 39 points himself. Right? Brandon Ingram and the Pelicans. Brandon Ingram back after being off 10 games. So now with today's loss, the Pelicans are a half game ahead of the Lakers. The Lakers sit in the 10th seed, which is still in the play-in. It's the very end of the play-in tournament. They'd have to win 2 to get in, but they're only a game ahead of the Spurs. A couple games left to play. Is it possible that the Lakers don't make the playoffs? And even if they do, is it possible they get bounced early? And what does that do to the myriad of LeBron James assets that are on Collectable's, fractional platform? Long question. I'm no
right. Well, a lot of people are speculating what happens if the Lakers make it into the playoffs, right? Mm-hmm. I think a better question is if they don't, because every single, at a certain point, we got to realize it's 82 games in. We're not 12. We're not 22. We're not even 52 games in. Like, they've shown their true colors of who this team is and what they're about. And I think it would be delusional maybe to expect them to change it. And if I could be honest, everything has pointed to them not even wanting to make the playoffs. Now, you're out there thinking everyone wants to win. Everyone wants to make the playoffs. I don't think so, man. It's a lot of extra games. It's a lot of toll on the body. Especially a lot of toll on LeBron's body, who we know wants to play with Bronny. And more playoff games that he knows he's not going to win a championship in is irrelevant. He'd rather have an early offseason. It's been a while since he's had an early offseason. Rest up, really get ready for next year to make a final run. And I actually think this team doesn't want to make the playoffs, as crazy as that sounds.
Do you think that they don't want to make the playoffs?
I do not think they will make the playoffs.
That's very interesting.
But nothing they've done has pointed to them wanting. They made no off-season moves, no mid-season moves, right? LeBron came out and was like, we could have made our team better. They made no mid-season moves. They've been playing terrible. They haven't made any adjustments. They're running the exact same offense. LeBron's getting his points. He's going to finish with the scoring title more than likely, but I don't see why this team. And even if they win, make it into that play-in game, I don't think they win the game. I don't think they want to win the game.
What do you think it does for his cards, especially the ones on the platform? There's one I'll answer for, and then I'll let you take it away.
Sure.
Cards like and you already see a little bit of a dip this week if you look at the numbers. Cards like the 0405, it's a second year. Dual logo man, 1 of 1 with Carmelo Anthony combined. A card like that might have run up a bit because of the thought that maybe the two of them would win a championship together with the Lakers, and sits at a $642,000 valuation. A card like that, which is down 13% this week to 642. A card like that,
I think
see a correction.
Cards is like 40 to 50%. Dude, LeBron. We also have to realize LeBron has more cards than the average athlete. And I know that's probably obvious, but like he has. I mean, I'll take a look right now. He probably has 10 cards just on collectible. So,
I think if you put the sealed wax in, the boxes, the exquisite and those kind of things, it's significantly more than 10.
Yeah, so that's a lot of money and a lot of people's money to be tied up for a very long time. I will say LeBron he is a hobby darling, man. As much as he gets hate, people trust him. It's a safe investment. But I think it would be foolish to expect, like, here's how I play. If you need that capital, I would take it right now. If you're willing to hold out for 6 to 9 months, keep it.
I want to swing it over from someone you love, LeBron, your favorite player, to someone you can't stand. And let me run with this, and then you can go ahead. Boston looks good, but you are still a believer in Milwaukee. You think until somebody takes it from Giannis, until somebody comes and beats Giannis, until somebody plays better team ball on both ends of the court than the Bucks do, right? I'm not going to say they're better coached because I know how you feel about the coach of the Bucks, but until somebody comes and beats them, you don't want to hear it. You think this is the Bucks season. You think it's the Bucks championship to lose. And we talked about Giannis cards once before, and then there was a buyout, and we mentioned that there is still an immaculate rookie gold 9, and said, that's another one. That's one of these rare cards, you name it. It was down this week. It was down from $14 a share, 4,950 shares, so down at a market cap of $69,000 to $11.75 a share, a market cap of $58,000. I mean, down almost 20%, 15, 20% week over week. Is that, in your eyes, because other teams in the East look better? Is it because people see the Heat in the 1 seed, the Celtics in the 1 seed, and you don't really hear much about the Bucks? You think people are just not, they're not giving credit where it's due to Milwaukee, or this is just a card that has run up a little bit?
Different scenario, but when Brady first went to the Bucks, no one believed that they were going to win the Super Bowl. Right? And actually the run-up on Brady came pretty late in their run. I would say once they actually got to the Super Bowl is when people started buying, right? Yep. It's kind of the opposite of buy the hype, sell the news. It was like, whoa, we didn't expect this. Now he's running. I see something very similar, man. I see, Grizzlies. They're better with Ja or without, but Ja's incredible. I see the Sixers. Wow, Embiid, Harden, what are they going to do? Celtics, terrible first 20 games, maybe a historic next 60.
Yeah.
Wow, Kyrie back on home court. He could play. Look at him and Durant. They're best buddies.
Yeah, the Hornets beat them tonight, though.
Huh?
The Hornets beat them, though, today.
But my point is, how media cycle, they talk about different things. When has the media talked about the Bucks at all this year?
They don't.
Never. They don't even talk about Giannis in MVP contention, which is crazy because he's the best two-way player in the game, and it's not even close, in my opinion. Now, I think the run's going to happen on Giannis. I think it's just going to happen when it's a little bit more obvious. It's that simple.
So there's upside there if he wins a championship. right? Because he won a championship, and if he doesn't win a championship, it's like, okay, well, here he is. He didn't win the MVP. He didn't win a championship. Is the potential upside that you see on that type of a card and Giannis in general, is it worth what you see as a potential downside on him? Because remember,
I don't
his cards.
see downside on him.
Well, that's why I'm asking.
What is the downside on this guy?
What
He's
if-
incredible.
What if they get knocked out of the playoffs in the first or second round?
His
Is
cards
that
will come down.
problematic?
I mean, I don't think that they're priced into winning a championship.
Okay. Well, that's something that goes into the equation, and we're seeing that. Obviously, this is one of the. This is a really cool rookie card, and it's down 15-20%. I mean, it's still this IPO'd at $10 a share, $49.5. It's at $11.75, which is a 58. It's higher than it was when it IPO'd. It's higher than it was, a couple weeks back, but it's definitely now down from the last couple of weeks. So yeah, there's not like a championship or a deep playoff run built into it. It seems like it's coming down a little bit. I guess I just get worried that if it takes so much for his cards to go up, if it takes basically perfection, if it takes him winning MVPs, it takes him winning a championship, is that because people don't believe in him, and if he fails, there'll be an exit? You know what I mean? So and you're probably right. The downside is probably limited because the cards haven't run. The ones that have the problematic potential downside are the ones that are running because of an expectation, and when they don't meet that expectation, they crash back down to earth.
And I'm not a collector, even though I'm learning to be. To me, Giannis is like a collector item. Like, this is a buy and hold for 10 years type of guy.
Okay.
And I think the people holding Giannis, 80 to 90% of them, are long-term thinkers. I think why Giannis cards haven't run is he's not the retail guy's flavor of the week. You need the retail guys to start buying and kind of having the FOMO and the hype to start pushing prices up. But what I'm also seeing is not a lot of sell-off because collectors love this guy. They believe in this guy. If they wanted to sell, they would have sold last year during the championship or right now, where his prices have been basically flat. So I think there's very little downside and a tremendous amount of upside in 10 years. I know Booker's not on the platform. I would say Booker is probably a little bit more short-term upside than Giannis because he's a little bit more the flavor of the week kind of now.
Okay. I mean, listen, you and I have talked LeBron and Giannis to death in our regularly scheduled episodes during our weeks as we go through the NBA season.
I just think that there's teams that are head and shoulders above everyone else, and then there are teams that are exciting and players that are exciting that the media wants to talk about.
Yep.
It's not interesting to kind of break down X's and O's of the best teams, but the Phoenix Suns are the best team in the West. It's that simple. There's no one even close. I don't care. Grizzlies with or without Ja. Warriors, that team is injured. And the Bucks. I mean, they're the reigning champions. You could say Kyrie and Durant, Boston. All those guys, in my opinion, are still pretenders, and there's just the best two teams, which are the Suns and the Bucks. I just think the media doesn't give them a ton of attention.
I mean, I love it. So what else? You see any other data out there? I have one card that I need to talk about.
It's shocking. It took, 9 months for Kawhi cards to see a dip?
I think people thought that he was going to come back. I think people thought, you're buying him with the potential, he'll come back at the end of the season and make a little playoff run or something like that. Yeah. And I think people have given up on that.
Ever gets old? Like Kawhi's shtick of never wanting to be in the public spotlight. People are just he's uninvestable. I don't care how good he is.
Yeah. I mean, he is an enigma. He's just, he doesn't really play. When he's healthy, he doesn't play the full season. Aren't these teams happy that they've put load management in? Because he
didn't play a year for the Spurs before the next season he won with the Raptors.
That's what I mean. When he plays, he's amazing. When he plays, he's great on the court. You know what I mean? But you still have to play. You still have to get out there and play every now and again. People need a little certainty in their investments, and he is about as uncertain as it gets.
So this week, that was a 40% sell-off in his basket, which it's kind of a stupid thing to really buy into. It's his Prism RC basket. It's 2012, which is a little lower pop. All PSA 10s, but there's 30 of them. So, that's been down for a while, but a big sell-off now knowing that he's not going to come back. Two other sell-offs, Lou Gehrig's 1925 exhibit photo, Type 3, down 34%, and then 25% down is Kobe Bryant's final season game-worn sneakers against the Spurs. I think there's an issue with Kobe Bryant game-worn stuff, is it's sort of like Emmitt Smith. They knew the value of game-worn. They knew it was his final season, farewell. You're going to see a lot of pop on these game-worn things, and they're going to lose their novelty, so to speak, right? This is game-worn final season with the Spurs. Then you're going to see, wow, these are from a 60-point game with the Jazz. You know what I'm saying? So you're going to start to see a lot of this in circulation, and I expect to see a lot of volatility in his game-worn prices, both up and down.
You like the game-worn stuff. You like the memorabilia. It's amazing to see it, the stuff that's on there. Anything with Magic Johnson? Anything you want to talk about, like the Showtime show? I haven't watched it. Have you watched the show?
I don't have HBO Plus. I have a lot of other stuff, but I don't have the
Aren't you
HBO
kind of like a millennial? Aren't you supposed to find a way to
stream
that or steal someone's password in an internet cafe or something like that? Isn't this what millennials do? No?
They also have friends. I have no friends to steal from.
Oh, this poor guy. You got a friend. I got HBO Plus. I'll hook you up after the show. So,
on Showtime.
It is whatever it is. I will put you. I have every channel, and I still have cable and a home phone, which rings during our recording sometimes. So
I tuned in for your panel on how to build $1 million collection. So maybe in 5 years, I will also have all the channels and cable.
Sweet, you gotta love it. Well, listen. Here's my shtick. I'll go through it all. It's funny. I haven't slept a lot in the last couple of days. I want to do this episode and then I want to go to sleep. But I'm actually very excited for an opportunity that's on the platform right now. And these don't come up that often. And it's one of those where I can tell you guys, if I had an account, which I don't because, I want to remain above reproach. But anyway, if I had an account, this card now would be one that I'd be keying in on. So, I'm excited to talk about it. Before I talk about that specific one, I do want to mention another one that looks like a potential opportunity. Recent sale, Roberto Clemente, a really nice one. PWCC sold the PSA 8 for $102,000. It's currently trading at only $87,000 and change on the collectible fractional. So it looks like a little bit of room there for it to head up towards the recent comp. It was a very nice copy, the one that was sold by PWCC. Real nice 8. Might have even had a designation. Might have been like a PWCC A. That's one. It checks the box that we've talked about now for the last couple of episodes of hitting low pop, goats. And the card that I'm going to bring you guys to talk about today also checks that box. It's not for everyone because there are people who collect Prism, but they don't want the older guys in their Prism set. They don't want to buy a Shaq Prism card from this year because it's years after he finished playing, right? People still want a Shaq Gold, though, because it's low pop. But, they don't want the other stuff. People don't want to do, remember you talked about, the Larry Bird 2012 Prism? And you showed me that picture. This is low pop. And I was like, yeah, but a lot of people don't want that because it's not when he played. It's well outside of his playing days, right? So, this card, it does fall outside of playing days, but I kind of don't think it matters, and we'll get to that. So I'm talking about none other than Babe Ruth, who played his last season in 1935, played, I think, 28 or 30 games with the Braves after hanging up with the Yankees. He passed away in 1948, and right after he passed, Leaf Company made one of the coolest, most colorful sets out there, and because of the stature of Ruth, not just in the game but just in society in general, they made a tribute card to him. They put 1948 Leaf has a Babe Ruth tribute card in it. It's card number 3, and it's one of the cool cards. It's often overlooked in the set because Satchel Paige's card is in it, and that's a cool card. There's a Jackie Robinson rookie in this, and that's a really cool card. That's the card. Both of them are on. What do you call it? This platform as well. Collectable has both a page and a Robinson. So anyway, I don't know. I have a Robinson also. No, I think it's a 3.5 that looks really nice. But yeah, you're pulling up the Ruth Leaf. It is a gorgeous card. It is a gorgeous card. Take a look at it, and you'll see the centering on it is amazing. You name it.
Perfect.
So here's why I bring this up. All right. This card is currently trading at a $50,960 valuation. And something to note, it has a PWCC A designation, meaning that it's probably one of the nicer SGC 8s. And people who know vintage cars know that SGC is, as legit as it comes for vintage cars like this. They are, just look at the card, look at the perfect centering on this. In the last PWCC auction, a PSA 8 without designation. So I would say it's as comparable a card as you can get to, there's the Robinson, to this SGC Ruth with a designation, sold for $102,000. So get that again. Just sold this week, $102,000 for the same card in PSA 8. You have a gorgeous SGC 8 with I appeal PWCC A designation on it, selling for less than half the market cap of what just sold for PSA 8. You have a $50,960 market cap on this, whereas the most recent sale was $102,000. Yes, wow. People may look at the PSA 8 and put a premium on a PSA 8. I don't know whether or not that makes sense when you're looking at an SGCA with a designation. I will say this, the PWCC one was nice also. If you watch Brent's video, where he does his little video review of it, he did say that it just missed a designation. It's a nice copy, but by just missing it, it means it's not a PSA 8 with a designation. It's not an IPO. It means it's not one they consider in the top 30% of the cards they see, whereas this one is a designation in the SGC ranking. So, take that for what it's worth. Even if you're a PSA person, the premium here is now double. You're talking about 102 versus 51. And I see something like that, even though the card itself doesn't fit. Shoot.
Do you think that this set has potential to be kind of a legendary set? I think is where it's getting to, right? Because why would someone pay for a 1948 card of Ruth if it's not also a little bit of a buy-in into the set?
So the set is iconic already. Remember, think about the guys who were in it. We talk about Ruth and the Page. They also did. It's funny. It's a comparable to like Prism, right? Like Prism has Pete Maravich cards. Has cards of greats. They have people who know. There's a Honus Wagner in this set. I mean, you guys know Honus Wagner's 1909 tobacco card. This is 1948. So they're issuing a card of Honus Wagner. 40 years later, almost. So it's definitely a cool set. It's a colorful set. If you take a look at that card again, there are not many in this high grade. I'd have to check the SGC and see if there's anything on there, but on PSA there are no 10s. Like there's not a single 10, and there are 5 9s, only 41 8s. When you add in SGC to the pop, it's not going to add much more. So for our talking points that I'm hammering home on this stuff, this is one of those cards that has a minuscule amount, never going to be enough in high grade, whether it's SGC 8, PSA 8, 9, no 10s. There will never be enough of these to satisfy the demand of high-end collectors. And I think that what you saw with that PWCC auction is another good example of what we talked about with like the Steve Young rookie and those other cards that have these really small pops, and collectors are scooping them up. This is I think a really good example of that card. And right now with that comp, it would be something I'll watch this week to see, how it trades. Because, to get to $102,000, that means that somebody bid 100 on that and lost. So that person, if they happen to stumble upon Collectables Fractional and sees this card, which is every bit as nice as that PSA 8, maybe even nicer, if they were willing to pay 100 and lost, what are they willing to offer for this? So that's kind of, it didn't fit. Normally when I look at the numbers and I'm not looking at the cards, normally I look at numbers and I say, okay, is this card up? Is it down? This card has, kind of traded, almost flat line, a little up, a little down. It's not one that has a humongous drop from last week. There's no overreaction. There's no liquidation, happening on it. But I always look at cards that are on the platform that have recent sales, like the Clemente we talked about, like the Ted Williams we talked about. This one here is clearly, one of these, 102 versus 50,960. So just wanted to make sure you guys, you saw that one. I do believe there's an opportunity there.
Lots of data, lots of auctions. I think we kind of hit every big milestone this week kind of right on the head. We don't have to go through a ton more data. We'll have a lot more for you guys next week. I do kind of feel like post-mint, post-Drake, post-flawless, there's a lot of attention on the hobby. One way or another, people are more excited. They're more active. I don't know if we have seasons in the hobby, but it definitely feels like spring, summer is when a lot of the action in the hobby is. And around the winter time, people get a little bit more dormant, so to speak. So, we're heading into April. You got Miami show, you got National coming up. There's a ton of shows, between April and November. I think if nothing else, there's action, there's movement. You're going to see buyouts. You're going to see a little bit more volatility in assets, both up and down. And I think you guys are going to want to stay tuned to the show because not only do we talk vintage, we talk modern, and we kind of give you, cause effect. This is what's happening. This is what might have caused it. And this is how you could maybe use this information in the future to make some money on your own. Cage, unless you want me to kind of go over anything, kind of just like read down some of the data. Shout out to you, man. I know you put in a shift this weekend.
Listen, it was fun. It was fun walking the show. It was fun looking at the cards. A couple of mantle rookies on the floor. But I got to tell you, one of the cool things that I thought to myself as we lead into this episode, this weekly episode, which is just something I actually really look forward to. Both Collectable and PWCC did a very good job of adding almost like a museum quality to what they had. Not eBay had cards at the show as well, but the event that I moderated at Hakkasan, where it was UFC, Panini, Collectable had Jackie Robinson.
Was there a party going on while you were speaking?
Yeah, I mean, there were tables, people were drinking, food being passed and that kind of stuff. Yes, it was sort of, not full on club. If it was full on club, I'd be moving around, dancing, getting rejected left and right. That was like PTSD from 30 years ago. I was telling some of the youngsters, this is how it worked. Like Night at the Roxbury, you walk up, you get rejected in real life. I couldn't sit on my couch and get rejected, on my phone, swiping one direction or the other. Somebody swiped the wrong way. No, you actually got rejected to your face. Anyway, so, it's a different world nowadays, I guess. But yes, there was party going on. But back to the point, to see Jesse Owens, Berlin gold medals just sitting there on display. And on the other side of the stage to see, and then up on the top of the stage to see Emmitt Smith, and then me, which is, forget about Emmitt Smith, you got me. But to the other side of the stage, you have PWCC with, the highest subgraded Brady ticket auto rookie out of 100. A multi-million-dollar card next to, a Gretzky, the PSA 10. Next to, a Clemente rookie, next to the triple logo man of the Bulls with Jordan and Rodman and, Pippen. And just if you're not a card person, you came to this because it was an event thing, or you came to this because, you came to this because of the Mint Collective, right? And you see these things, you can't help but think, wow, there's something here. This is like museum quality assets. And they have some of those type of assets here. And for the common collector, I think, if big money is coming in, if Drake is bringing other people in, yeah, flawless. But doesn't that help the logo mans? And where do you find logo man? You find it on this platform. You see Mickey Mantle rookie cards sell. Well, there's a really nice PSA 8 on this platform. That is, I believe kind of, where the shift is going. You see these high-end museum-type pieces where if money comes in, that's what everybody is chasing. But the average collector can still get exposure to it through fractional. So that was kind of what my thought was. And it was really cool to see some of those things because, I can only hope to attain something like that one day myself. And until then, the common collector gets to do it this way through fractional. So fun stuff.